I'm a 42-year-old man and my wife is 44. We've been married for 16 and a half years, but recently I discovered she plans to leave me. Over the new year, she went on her usual Christmas spa getaway with the girls while I took our two sons, aged 16 and 14, shopping. Shortly after she left, she called to ask if I could bring her credit card, which she claimed to have forgotten. It wasn't far out of my way, so I went to her desk to grab it. That's when I stumbled upon a stack of papers from a family law solicitor. I started reading them when she called again, saying she had found the card in her purse, which I knew wasn't true. Still, I didn't want to ruin the day with the boys, so I kept reading. I shouldn't have, but I felt I had to know what was going on. From the documents, it seemed like she planned to serve me divorce papers on January 4th, asking me to move out and seeking sole custody of the boys. After going through her emails and messages, I discovered she had been planning this for months. There's no indication of infidelity, but she claims my behavior was unreasonable, likely thinking it would speed up the process. We have similar incomes, but she earned more this year with a bonus, and her parents cover the boys' school fees. She seems to think this will be a quick and easy separation. I saved all the documents and emails, but didn't know how to move forward. I finished shopping with the boys, and we had our traditional crepes. They're watching Star Wars now. I had already seen it with them earlier, which gave me an excuse to leave. I'm sitting in a coffee shop trying to figure out what to do next. I want to keep things normal for the boys, so we're continuing with our planned activities. But I'm uncertain what to say to my wife when I get home. I'm thinking of staying calm, saying nothing, and waiting to consult a solicitor on Monday. But I'm not sure how long I can keep up the act. I might go to my mom's house for the weekend to avoid the tension here. Christmas is ruined. I'm not planning to leave. This is my house. I built it, and I'm staying. She can go to the flat in town, where she spends most of the week. We have properties in both London and Dorset. London isn't ideal for raising kids, so we have a weekend house to give the boys space. During term time, I stay in London while the boys are at boarding school, and we come back to Dorset on weekends and holidays. I had no idea she wanted out. This came as a total shock. We had couples therapy last year, and the counselor said we could work things out. But maybe she had already decided to leave and had been preparing for it. She didn't show any signs of tension and hadn't even been in the office much. She's controlling, but I've always stood up to her. She's a managing director now, and it's gotten worse since. I've calmed down now and am thinking more clearly. I'm not going to do anything drastic like trash her passport or hire a private investigator. I have a meeting with my solicitor tomorrow, but it's just a casual session at the golf course club. We did therapy before because she didn't like that I wouldn't give in to her. She's a bully in most parts of her life, but I never let her get away with it. That's probably why she married me. I was the first person to stand up to her. We started counseling after she wrecked my car and pretended to be hurt to stop me from taking a job in Dubai for 3 months because it conflicted with school holidays and she couldn't take care of the boys. The flat in London is because of her stressful job in corporate law, and it's hard to travel back to Dorset. We tried living full-time in London, but it wasn't good for the kids. I met with my solicitor and his team this morning. After reviewing her papers, they believe she's been planning this for a while and is ready to ambush me. Her email suggests she's well prepared for everything, almost like a hostile takeover. Their advice is to do nothing outwardly but be fully prepared. I need to have my papers ready to serve her and her solicitor once she makes her move. She wants the house because the flat is worth more, and she needs sole custody for stability. I'm not going to let that happen. So I'll keep going with Christmas and skiing, knowing everything is being set up in the UK for when she tries to make her move. Christmas passed normally, except for her father being extra critical and both of them getting drunk on Christmas Eve. We went skiing as planned. My wife spent more time away from the group skiing alone, shopping, or at the spa, which some friends noticed. We were more intimate than usual, but it felt more about satisfying our own needs than caring for each other. Our older son noticed something was different, and my wife told him it was because January was going to be a busy month. At Sunday brunch with her parents and my brother and his wife, my wife and father disappeared into the office when we got home. After a few minutes of silence, she announced to the family that we no longer loved each other. We had tried to fix things, but I wouldn't compromise, and we had decided to divorce. She explained it wasn't the boy's fault and that we had been drifting apart for years, but now was the right time. I stayed quiet, trying not to react, though I wanted to confront her. The only thing I did was hold my youngest son's hand. After she finished, I suggested the boys go with their grandparents while I spoke with her privately. I got up to get the divorce papers, but her father called me a coward for walking away and insisted I face my wife. I stayed civil at first, but then I told him to leave. We exchanged insults, and he called me a terrible husband, father, and businessman. Her father wouldn't stop, so he punched me in the face, knocking me down. My brother stepped in, and his wife called the police. The boys helped pull him off me, but not before he kicked me a few times. I didn't fight back. When he realized I wasn't going to retaliate, he and my wife retreated to the office. I went to comfort the boys with my brother. The police and paramedics arrived, and my brother, a police officer, talked to them. They took statements, escorted my father-in-law off the property, and advised me to leave. I refused, but after consulting my lawyer, I went to the hospital for treatment on my broken nose and cracked ribs. By the time I returned, my wife had gone to London, and her mother and my sister-in-law stayed with the boys. They were upset about the fight, not our divorce. Later that evening, my wife emailed me, outlining her demands. She was upset my lawyer had already contacted her before we could discuss things. The divorce is happening, and now I'm starting the new year as a single man. What a Christmas this turned out to be. Her father has made things worse for her, and now that he's shown his violent side, she's no longer going to rely on him for help with the boys during holidays while she works. That plan is off the table. I've already made it clear to her that anything she sends me must be copied to my solicitor's office, and the same goes for anything I send her. I've had discussions with my lawyers about fees, so I'm not overly concerned. This will cost me upwards of £150,000, but in the long run, it's worth it. Things aren't going to go as smoothly for her as she thought. A major reality check is coming her way. There are no medical bills in the UK as the NHS is free, and any charges will be handled by the police and CPS. I know her father was interviewed, arrested, and released on bail, and I expect charges to follow once the CPS speaks to me. I've already given a statement, and my brother, who's in law enforcement, thinks they will move forward with prosecution because of the broken bones. However, I think her father will only receive a caution or peace bond. In the meantime, we've filed a restraining order against him, and I'm waiting for the locksmith to change the lock since he has a key. We're also waiting to hear from her solicitor whether she intends to keep living in the house during the divorce process. Currently, she's in London and then New York for the week. She's always been her father's princess, and he never thought I was good enough for her. Even though I've done better than her family in terms of education and career, he still sees me as the builder who married his daughter under duress. I built everything from the ground up, even though we were students when we got pregnant. In her email, she outlined her demands. Full sole custody, both the house and the flat, me to move out within a week. An uncontested divorce, half of my assets with no mention of her own wealth, £75,000 annually for the kids, including hiring a housekeeper, £15,000 per year in school fees for university, access to my partnership accounts, full disclosure of future deals, and a list of individual items like my first edition books and lithoprints. She's essentially asking me to become a financial provider with no regard for my rights. I suspect her father's wealth is dwindling, and she knows she can't maintain her lifestyle without it. She's always spent more than she earns, and her inherited assets are tied up in property. My solicitors have concluded that it's a zero-sum situation. Without child support, she keeps her money, and I keep mine. The firm I work for is still growing, and I could earn far more than her in the future. She's hoping to get a substantial settlement now based on that future potential. She didn't offer any compromises, just that her father might continue paying the school fees if I cooperate and allow her a quick transfer of assets. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone will come out of this unscathed. If she had approached me and asked for a divorce, I wouldn't have resisted. It's not something I initiated, but now I just want to settle things as cheaply as possible and move on. We should have divorced last year after counseling, but she refused to acknowledge how badly she treated me. I stayed for the kids, but that was a mistake. Once I found out she was planning the divorce, I knew it was going to get ugly quickly because of her vindictive nature. As for the boys, I spent a lot of time talking to them after Sunday's incident. They're upset and traumatized, and they were quiet this morning. I plan to speak with them at 7 p.m., and hopefully they'll open up. My sister-in-law said they've been quiet at school, which is not surprising. Their mom has been contacting them, painting me as the bad guy and telling them that their grandfather still loves them, but I'm stopping them from seeing him. I'll arrange counseling for them at school so they have a safe space to talk. That's the situation so far. I'm pretty much in control, and it seems like she's lost her grip on things. The parental alienation attempt won't work out in her favor. Thanks for all your support, and I hope things go well for you. Take care. That's the end of this crazy story. What about you guys? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments section.